Hello, welcome everyone to From the Ground Up. This is a Grit Daily sponsored podcast where we talk to entrepreneurs about the companies they're running and what they're doing in the world and how you, as an entrepreneur out there, can run your business better. I'm John Boytnott. Welcome to the show, and today we have Evan Floersch in Austin, Texas. Hi, Evan. How are you?
I'm doing well, John. Thanks for having me.
Evan, you're the owner of the Texas Ranchers, which is a pickleball team. Tell us about yourself first, and then how you got into pickleball.
Yeah, moving backwards, I studied entrepreneurship in college and played college soccer. So I've always been around sports, but the first part of my career, including college, took me into the tech and media spaces and building companies in those spaces. And after I graduated, I built a few companies in those two categories. It taught me a lot about network science, community building, growth hacking, if you will, and definitely leadership. The second company I founded brought me to Austin. So I had been living here for a few years. After I exited that company, I saw that there was a huge opportunity, wide open, really, to bring more sports franchises here to Austin and Texas as a whole, and felt ready to make a hard left into out of tech and media and into sports and begin building what's quickly becoming kind of like a Fenway Sports group for Texas, and investing in and operating on franchises in sports here in Texas.
Yeah, so we do see Austin in the background there, and as you said, you have roots in the Midwest. And how did your enthusiasm for sports get shaped? And did you go to Austin because it's a pickleball capital, or
It was not the pickleball capital when I first came here. I didn't even know what pickleball was. We didn't have it as a. Some people had it as a gym unit. I did not growing up.
you
Have you
neither?
met someone? Have you met someone from Chicago?
Yes. Yep.
So you know that Chicago sports are more than just entertainment and a place to gather. Kind of sports is core to Chicagoans' identity.
Mm.
I grew up going to 800,000 person championship parades, going to Cubs games, White Sox games, Blackhawks games, Bears games, and being a part of that is specifically around the Blackhawks when they won over and over again, and how that brought my family and my friends and I together. The experiences that we shared, the pride and the connection that we felt to Chicago. I wanted to, when I made the decision to get into sports and get back into sports, bring that to a city like Austin, which I now call home. I want my kids to grow up going to championship parades, and hopefully we can build that here in the coming years. So there's a team to celebrate and root for, outside of just University of Texas.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're talking about because being from San Francisco in the Bay Area, yeah, I was lucky enough to grow up with Joe Montana, Steve Young, those guys for the 49ers. And, it was almost like taken for granted that they were going to go far into the playoffs. And eventually that ended, but not,
Yeah, I'm
not
a San Francisco Giants fan, believe it or not. So
what? How's
we
that possible?
my dad grew up in Long Island, and they used to, and my grandfather's generation used to be the New York Giants, and then they moved to San Fran, and he followed them. He didn't go with the Yanks or the Mets. He decided to go with the San Francisco Giants. So I grew up going to those games, watching Tim Lincecum play, and also was fortunate to see those three championships while I was growing up.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Brooklyn and the Bronx obviously are like, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and the other one. What's the other one? Where those are where the three teams were, right? Basically, it was the Yankees and the Mets, and were kind of became they're orange and blue because of the Dodgers and the Giants. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's just so many people that live in Brooklyn and in those boroughs that they basically like moved all throughout the country, and a lot of them came to the West Coast and. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happened. But so yeah, my whole point is that sports is core to my identity as well, and I do love the Giants. And we'd never won a world championship until 2010, and so people who were 60 years old who were from the Bay Area had never seen a world championship before, and then they finally got that. So I get what you're saying, and yeah, it's building a sports identity. I mean, doesn't pickleball is a huge sport. Don't get me wrong. Like I live in a condo, uh, you know, place, and and we have a tennis court, and there's a pickleball team and pickleball teams. So obviously, I know that pickleball is a huge sport, but turning that sport into the next NBA or NFL, that's a totally different thing. But we talked before the this discussion began, and you're talking about the league and how big the league is. Tell me about the league, and how do you what's it going to be like, the challenge to make that to just make it bigger and more in the spotlight for everyone.
Yeah, well, I think for it to become the NBA, there are very similar kind of traits that you see, and also signals like the blacktop basketball scene in the '90s helped.
Mm.
It's very similar in that way where you can play, and there's incredible recreational participation and top of funnel beginners getting into the sport. And we need to create real storylines, real drama, invest in player marketing to show that these pickleball players are larger than life, among dozens of other things that need to happen to get on par with the Big Four, even Big Five now with the Major League Soccer. But yeah, Major League Pickleball is kind of the team based format. There was a lot learned from the kind of failures of pro tennis and how it doesn't fail, but it fails, let's say, the people out of the top 100, right? There's such a big gap in how you can make a living if you're the top 10 player or, and vice compared to, person number 200 that is trying to become a pro tennis player. And so the team based format, bringing tribalism into pickleball with the blank canvas and lack of precedent that we had was, I think, really smart because you can connect to home markets just like other big fours do, and you can really invest in player marketing and kind of embrace and continuity as well, and in our storytelling and how we're scaling our franchise, winning championships, connecting again, like we talked about with Chicago, connecting with our home fans and building a community here and inspiring future generations, just like basketball did, to take up pickleball and take it seriously as a professional sport for them to consider as they reach adulthood.
So you've assembled a new team and approach to ownership with the Ranchers. Talk to me about what the ownership looks like. Is it the same way with all the various other teams? Where are all the other teams by the not? You have to list them all, but I mean, is it sort of like more of a Southern league or is it like a Midwest league? How does it
They're
look?
all over. Yeah, 22 franchises, 16 in the top, six in the second division, kind of like the major league, minor leagues. As the talent pool continues to increase, more players, more talented players come into pro pickleball. That league will continue expanding, but for right now, the kind of sweet spot is 16, just so that we can ensure the integrity of the TV product. And that's really what it all comes down to. That's where the next phase of growth is the media rights deal and reaching as big of a media rights deal as we can. And so that's why there is a major league and minor league format, and they're anywhere from New York City to California. I'd say probably more than 50% are Southern based, but that's just because that's where the strategic partners, some of the early investors, are based. But yeah, it's nationwide. There is a tour that goes on from April to August. We just hosted MLP Austin over Memorial Day weekend here and had over 4,000 people show up. So it continues to grow. People continue showing up, and it continues to reach new markets around the country.
Yeah, that's great. So the owners, where do you find these owners? I also uh, I had noticed in your press material you mentioned like Lil Wayne is involved, and a few other people. Is he involved just in the league entirely, or is he involved in just your team? Or tell me about the different things.
The rancher. So I took a step back when we were buying the team from this older Texas gentleman 2 years ago, and you know it was so competitive at the time. LeBron had a team, Tom Brady had a team, Mark Cuban had a team, and Heiser Bush had a team. We were sitting there like, and me looking in the mirror, being, what am I gonna? How am I gonna compete against the influence resources that these folks have? Um, and with my background in community building, I think the best way to do that is through partnerships. And so it's been a great experiment at what it could look like by if you give up some ownership to harness the power of the collective. And so we've got three kind of buckets. We've got athletes and celebrities who help us globalize the brand and reach new eyeballs, like Lil Wayne and Scotty Scheffler, who love pickleball. That's the most important thing. All investors on our cap table love pickleball. The second one is individuals who are in sports or own sports teams. So we've got the DeVos family, Dennis Wong, who's part of the LA Clippers, and then kind of a third bucket, which is industry leaders, industry heads. So these are sports marketers, PR folks, digital marketers who are definitely the best at what they do and have and the best at what they've done for the last, let's say, 2-3 decades, and can help us execute and keep our leadership team pretty lean. So it's been great. I think when you're scaling a franchise with a blank canvas like pickleball and all the participation, like we're definitely thinking competitive versus other MLP teams and how we can capture, because I think it's only 3% of participants out of the 50 million plus who play pickleball know who Ben Johns is, who's the number one player in the world. And
In
so
pickleball.
we definitely need to, there's definitely an opportunity to capture fans and make sure that, or not make sure, but attempt to have them resonate with us based on our storytelling, our branding, the experiences, the people a part of our team. And so that's why we oriented the cap table the way we did. Was we see such an opportunity to capture fans who have no team to root for yet, and give them a reason to root for the Texas Ranchers.
I wanted to briefly dive into, you talked about sort of the way that the league is organized with a minor league and a major, and the major league basically built into the league already. And, I think that, I think that's a great idea. I think that's like the way to go. And NBA doesn't, does the NBA have that? I don't think, I mean, what other leagues have? I know
The
the
G League,
NFL doesn't have that.
the G League
Oh, that's
is
right. The G League. Yes. So this is
yep.
sort of based on the G League, kind of.
G League, minor league baseball. I think there's kind of a farm system. How do we develop talent? And that's moving pretty quickly. It's moving even beyond the minors. We have junior programs being set up. We have a minor league ranchers team, actually three minor league ranchers teams that currently compete around the country and wear our jersey. So there was a real effort to bridge the folks who sniffed out that pickleball was going to be big and were kind of early movers, what we call the old guard of pickleball, the people who've been playing for 6+ years, and the new kind of young blood who's coming in. Maybe they didn't make it in tennis and they're coming over, or maybe this was actually their first sport. And so we have some 18, 17, 19-year olds who pickleball was actually their first sport, and they were going to be way more. And how can we, as the Texas Ranchers, develop talent here in our home market of Texas to ensure that the future growth of the league remains steady?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not to get too off the subject matter, but with the NFL, not does the NFL doesn't have a G League basically, right? Or does it?
They do
No,
not.
it's
No.
just these other leagues that keep trying to pop up. And do you think the NFL will ever have its own G League? Just
I
a
don't think so. I think the NFL is so sacred. I joke about this with friends all the time that they could play a Wednesday night game in Tokyo and they would still get 30 plus million people watching. There is something sacred about the NFL and what they've built over the obviously the last century, and they can really do anything. I don't think they necessarily need that.
yeah,
And the fact that there are only 32 teams and there's already a decent feeder system with the NCAA with college football and real investment in college football. I think they're in a good spot. The spring leagues that we see right now on TV, I think don't have the legs.
great. Okay, well let's dip into a little bit of advice for entrepreneur, not advice for entrepreneurs on how to run their business better is always the thing. But I think specifically for you, you have some, you are building a community from scratch and a fan base from scratch, and I think that there's probably some information in there that would be really helpful for entrepreneurs out there who are always looking for any little tidbit of thing that can help them in them building their fan base, right, or their community. So what are some of the key things that you're doing that you think move the needle the most, I guess?
We're doing the things right now that don't scale. That's really you've probably heard it before, but we're doing the thing. How can we delight that person and put a paddle in that person's hand who's never picked up pickleball before, and make sure that the experience is an 11 out of 10? and knowing that one, the sport will naturally addict people, which it does because it's an incredible game. And two, if we are that brand that delivers an 11 out of 10 experience for the first time and they do continue picking up pickleball, that's a fan that becomes super loyal, super engaged with our team. And they're going to not only engage with our team, but they're going to tell all their friends about it. They're going to bring people to play pickleball with, who then hopefully become fans. But that's really what I mean when I say we're doing the things that don't scale. We are going above and beyond for our community, our early fans, right now, so that that reverberates, that feeling that we give them, the white glove kind of touch on the fan experience that we provide, hopefully reverberates out into the various communities around Texas and the
What are
country.
some? What are one or two examples of the white glove that you're thinking of?
Yeah. So doing things like having our core active team. So we just hosted MLP Austin over Memorial Day weekend. We invested a lot of money, probably more than we're probably more than any other team to host. That we every team this year is on the hook for hosting, or the markets that were selected hosting an MLP event, and I think we delivered a pretty incredible experience. That didn't come without cost, but that builds a momentum and excitement for next year. And one of the things on an individual level that we did was for the juniors, for the kids that came in and experienced pro pickleball for the first time, we actually had a portion of the event, which is on our social media, where our players surprised kids around the venue with signed merchandise, signed paddles. And these were kids who actually did recognize our players, which was great, but didn't think that they would be, given a signed paddle by Christian Alshon, one of the top players in the world in pickleball from the Ranchers. So those kind of things, that kid will never forget that moment. I know it sounds funny to you and me, but that kid will never forget that moment. Just like I haven't forgotten moments that of interactions with pro sports
Me
players
too.
when
Me
I
too.
was
Yeah,
growing up. You never forget that, and that has an incredible effect on their friends, their family members. It becomes a story now for their family to tell, their neighbors, their friends, and that really goes a long way.
for sure. Yeah. No, and I have those memories in my early life too. Being one of the little kids who would basically go down to the right near the field and try and get my whatever it was, ball, mitt, poster, whatever it was. I didn't have those things, but when trying to get them signed by players down on the field, and once I had one friend who ended up getting a glove from one of the Giants outfielders when we were kids, uh, Jack Clark. So I'm
Yep.
dating myself back to the '80s, but yeah, he got a glove from Jack Clark, and we were all pretty jealous of that. Um,
Same. I got a Buster Posey signed baseball. I went to our spring training. He just walked up to me on the third base side and had a chat for about 5 minutes. It was
wow!
incredible. So you never forget those moments.
And now he's the general manager of the Giants. So maybe you can get him involved in some pickleball with some kind of a franchise at some point.
Maybe.
Um, okay, so what's the so how many some bread and butter things here? Like how many people typically go to the games? How many fans do you have? I'm naturally curious. How much what's sort of the range of value of the franchises? What are you able to tell me on that?
So the match at one an MLP weekend over the regular season from April to August before the playoffs are 4 days. So over the course of 4 days, excuse me, for us we had over 4,000 people show up, and some of them will have 14,000 plus people show up on the MLP tour. So it really ranges there. We have a venue that only had 2,000 capacity, so we wanted to keep it really tight and snug and intimate, and the players feeling and hearing the noise of the fans right on top of them. And so that's the approach that we took. But yeah, you could get 14,000 people. And what's really unique about Major League Pickleball is there are amateur tournaments going on alongside the pros. So I mean, no other sport. We keep bringing up baseball. No other sport do you have a baseball tournament going on right next to the what's it called, Oracle Park now, and that you don't have that kind of close interaction with the players unless you're going 2 hours early and watching batting practice. So It's really unique. It's very community driven, very tribal, and we think those are things that will continue helping grow the sport. And the franchises are hard to come by nowadays. I think they're still pretty accessible. They're probably somewhere between on the smaller market 15 million up to 30 million. So it just depends on the market you're in, the strength of the brand, obviously revenues, and what your P&L looks like. But yeah, those are typically what we see. And then the next kind of tier is post, what I call post media rights deal, that kind of third stage of growth, where okay, you sign the golden ticket, you can prove that people are sitting on their couch watching pickleball, and here's a linear network coming in or a streaming platform coming in and betting that the amount of hours and engagement you're going to see on for watching pro pickleball is going to generate a return from the commercial dollars that they can make off of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's, just to briefly say, I know that the DiBartolos bought the 49ers for, I forget exactly what it was, but it was something like just
8
20
billion.
million. What? Go ahead, tell me what.
Oh, the old ownership group.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, his uncle bought it
Yes.
in 78 or whatever it was for like 20 million or some small amount of millions, and then it,
And now it's 8 billion plus. Yeah, it's yeah. So I think it's very accessible for high net worth individuals, for athletes, founders, exited founders, celebrities, and who want a trophy asset, which it is. It's a trophy asset. It's an asset for rich people just to sit on and hope it continues to rise. We're treating it a bit differently, where we feel our thesis is pickleball is going to become a global sport, an Olympic sport very soon. And from what we're seeing in Southeast Asia, Latin America, Europe, China, Australia, all these markets. And so, if we are the most aggressive movers, if we're turning heads, if we're doing great storytelling, we're going and bringing our team into new emerging markets overseas, then we're going to be the biggest winners, and hopefully position ourselves as America's pickleball team. And when people overseas in Japan think of who to root for, or when they're walking down the street, hopefully they're wearing a Texas Rangers hat, just like you see with the Yanks and Lakers and other sports.
you just need that Caitlin Clark, you need that Stephen Curry, you need that iconic person that just gets all the kids
But it's
interested.
it's long it's long patient capital.
Yeah.
Media rights deal is the one that everyone thinks of, because then NBA franchises go to 6 billion plus, and MLS franchises, we're seeing that a positive impact of the Apple TV deal. So we're proving ourselves right now, and we're already having discussions with media entities about a media rights deal, and I think it's right around the corner. And that's when you'll start seeing franchise values kind of shoot up from 15 to 30 million.
What do you wish you knew ahead of time before you started doing all this? What were some key things you wish you knew before you started?
Um, it's a lot more difficult, and I came from tech and media. It's a lot more difficult to get people to care. Believe it or not, this was news to me, very surprising to me. It's a lot more difficult to get people to care and become true fans of a sports team than you think. It is really difficult. Even in a sport like pickleball, which is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, and the fastest growing sport for the last 4 years in the U.S., you have to, again, what I talked about earlier, do things that really have a touch and an emotion to it, or else people aren't gonna show up for you. They're not going to buy your merchandise. They're not going to show up at your tournaments if you're not cool, interesting, and obviously very very thoughtful and considerate to the overall fan experience. So that was one thing that I wish I knew going into it, was yes, there's fulfillment at the end of the tunnel, but it takes a very long time, and you have to be very patient at building real fans in your local community. And it's been awesome to see Austin become the pickleball capital of the world, with all the courts popping up, how many people play. You go to a municipal court at any time of day, and it is packed. And I think that's a conscious effort by a lot of people in and around our organization to make pickleball core to Austin culture.
What are you looking forward to for the team going forward in the next year or two as we, yeah, go forward?
I think one of the how to build a true legacy in sports, you have to win, and you have to win often. every single year. We don't have a rebuild year here at the Texas Ranchers. We are aiming to win a championship every single year, and we'll do everything possible to bring a championship to Austin. Last year, Dallas Flash won, unfortunately, but who are our rivals. But we were right in it at the MLP championships, and we have the same goal as this year. Hopefully, we go through the rest of the season. We have a midseason tournament, which is innovative, similar to what the NBA is doing in Grand Rapids in early July, and the second half of the season thereafter. And then come August in San Diego and New York City in Central Park will be the MLP championships, and hopefully, we're raising that trophy at the end of August there.
All right. What's one thing that you can apply to, from your business that any regular entrepreneur can apply to theirs? Like what's a key thing about pickleball and the team and the league that a regular business person can apply to their business?
When I was making that hard left, it's a great question. When I was making that hard left into sports, it was conscious. I mean, I had grown up around sports, but from where I was at, there was yes, Austin and Texas is seemingly an incredible market, but I really constrained myself to what is that thing that I can really dive that category I can dive into that is not only going to be around for the next 10 years, but it's going to be around for the next 100, 200 years. That to me is something where you see companies evolve. You see tech companies evolving right now with the AI revolution that is underway. I wanted to be in a category that wasn't trending, but that was always going to be here to stay. And I think that doesn't apply to every entrepreneur probably listening to this. But if you can sit there, look at yourself in the mirror, and you kind of shake, but when you think about, hey, am I going to be around, or is that next Google demo day going to completely wipe out my company? Then you're probably in a tough spot already. So that's what I look for when I look to focus my efforts and what I want to build in the category I want to build in. And I think that was great advice that I received. And then on a personal front, the best advice I've received, came from a mentor of mine, and who said, just focus on hitting singles over and over again. I can't stress that enough. It's so many founders try hitting the home run right away, and it really is about doing the things that don't scale, like we've talked about a couple times already. But doing things over and over again, and getting small wins, celebrating the small wins, focusing on the next step in the mountain, and rather than trying to, catapult yourself to the top.
Right on, Evan. Give us how can people out there find the Ranchers, find the Pickleball League? Give us all the information, and how can people follow you and
I'm
learn
not
more?
really a social media guy. I like to keep my life pretty private, but ranchers.com is the best way to engage. Either sign up for our email list or follow us on social media at Ranchers Pickleball. And yeah, we've got a great content team. Hopefully, people enjoy the content that we produce, even if they don't live in Texas. I think it's just really compelling content and storytelling that our media team does. So those are the two best ways. Ranchers.com, sign up for the email list if you want to get engaged. Shop.ranchers.com if you want to buy merchandise. I doubt it from the just listening to a single podcast episode, but hopefully we win you as a fan, and you continue following us.
Yeah, sounds good. And I think it's definitely possible. Like I think I mentioned, I've been seeing more and more of pickleball on social media, and on TikTok, and on Instagram, those types of things, seeing highlights here and there. So it's something I'll be watching out for in the future as well. And it's great to have you on the show, Evan Floersch of the Texas Ranchers. Great to have
Thanks,
you.
John. Appreciate